We will be doing some minor changes on our login form as well as our registration form. So as you've noticed, the registration form is quite small as well as our login form. So let's try to make some changes. Okay, I'm going to code this time. Okay, try to look for it here. So we have here column SM10. So this means actually that since the total column is only 12, so maximum, by the way, is column SM12, and we have made it here a 10 and 2. Let's try to change this one. Let's try to make it, if we're going to make it, let's say for example 8, and this one is 4. Okay, so I'm currently under index. I've opened index a while ago. Then let's try to reload. Okay, so it's a little bit big, so let's try to make some more adjustments. Make it 3. This one 9. Okay, then okay, so that's it. Let's also try to do some changes here. Let's try to open our registration. Okay, as you've noticed, I've opened our registration. This one. Okay, so make the same changes. So I'm going to make this one 9, and this one 3. This one 3. Okay, decide to reload the page. Okay, perfect. Now I actually did that one since I'm using a large monitor. So when using large screen or large monitor, by the way, that's one of its downside. Okay, let me just try to adjust this so it will be clear for you guys. Okay. Um, you'll be thinking that maybe okay, so it's already on the right size that that I wanted it to be, but when you try to shift it to a different screen size, there will be some changes. Okay, there will be some minor tweaks that you need to do. Okay, so how do you check, by the way, in your browser the proper screen resolution? So since I'm using currently Firefox, I'm going to right click here. Then I have here inspect. So I'm going to click inspect. Now, can you see, if you can see this responsive design mode, you can actually click this button on the lower right hand part. By the way, this actually is since I'm using Firefox. So if I'm going, as what I've said, if I'm using a Google Chrome, that's going to be a different story. Okay, so I don't know actually where to find responsive design mode in Google Chrome, but in Firefox, this is what I would usually do or normally do. So I'm going to click responsive design mode. Okay, so this is currently uh, how it will look if I'm using iPhone 12 or iPhone 13. But since we won't be dealing ourselves or won't be concerning ourselves with how it will look on the mobile phone, what we wanted to do is just basically try to change this one to um, 1020 by 768. Okay, so this is actually its output size. So 1020 by 768. This is the normal 1024. I mean, sorry. So it should be 1024 by 768. This is the normal screen size that is commonly used by majority of the browsers. So we can still actually make some adjustments here. Okay, let's try to make this one instead of since I'm still in registration, I'm going to make this one to 8. Make it a little bit big. Then 4. Okay, so I'm going to reload this page again. So, okay, this is it. So we have here 1024 by 768. So this is how our layout would look if we are using a 1024 by 768 screen resolution. Okay, also here index, like this one, 8, then 4. Okay, let's try to go back here. Refresh, then let's get to go home. Okay, so this is it. Okay, this is what we wanted. Now, this is where our login screen will appear, and this is also login screen and registration form will appear, as well as our categories here once we get into the categories part of our shopping cart. Now, on the left hand side, this is where we will actually be showing our products. Okay, so this is where our products will go. Now, next thing that we need to do is we will already be coding our uh, our registration page. Okay, so let's try this time. Okay, let's try. No, let's try to go first to our registration. Okay, let's try to open our registration. Okay. Now, one of the things that I'll be introducing to you guys also is how to use uh, jQuery. Okay, it's a JavaScript library, by the way. So where can we download jQuery? So I've noticed, by the way, that I've already opened my website. So I've also opened our PHP admin. So this time, let's try to look for jQuery, or where we can actually download jQuery. So basically, I'm just going to type jQuery, or download jQuery on download jQuery. Okay, so we have here download jQuery, okay, which can be found on jquery.com. So let's just try to select download the compressed. Okay, then I'm going to click. So this is our code. Okay, what I'll be doing is I'm going to copy, or so, okay, let's try to do a different approach. I'm going to right click here, save link as. Okay, then it will be stored or under downloads. Okay, I'll try to do the first approach. Okay, so I'm going to right click. Okay, I'm going to copy. Okay, going back here to my notepad++. Okay, so notice, by the way, that we have our javascript uh, folder. Okay, let's try to create a new file. Then I'm going to paste. Okay, so I'm going to paste. Okay, then I'm going to click save, or save as. Okay, now we have here file name, then we have here save as type. Okay, so we have, let's try to look for .js. We have here JavaScript file. If you can see it in my screen. Okay, then let's try to call this one as our jQuery. Then let's try to click save. Okay, notice, by the way, that my jQuery file is on the same level as my other PHP file. So we don't want that. We want to organize our files. That's why, notice also that I close it. That's why we have our JS folder, because that's where all of our JavaScript file will be stored. So what I'll be doing is I'm just going to open. Okay, I'm going to open. Then I'm going to right click uh, the JavaScript file. Then cut. Okay, open JS file. Then paste. Okay, then just click cancel. So I already have my jQuery file inside my jQuery inside my JS folder. Okay, next, how do we add this time our jQuery file, or our JavaScript file, since it's still JavaScript, into our project? So the first thing that we need to do is we need to open our header file. Okay, so very much the same as what we did with our bootstrap, JavaScript bootstrap /js bootstrap.js. We are going to also to do the same thing. So we have your script language, JavaScript source, JS. Okay, JS. Then we have here jquery.js. Okay, so that's it. So we now have added two JavaScript files. The first one is a bootstrap, and the other one is jQuery. Is our jQuery file. Okay, so I think try to make the screen a little bit bigger. Next, it's just try to go to our registration. Now, how do we know, by the way, if we have successfully included our or successfully added our JavaScript file? Now, I'm going to click here. I'm going to type $, then document dot ready. Okay, function. Okay. So this is, by the way, your parentheses, and this is your braces. Then I'm going to type alert. Then say to add jQuery is added. Let's try to save. Try to go back to our, okay, try to close this tab. We will go back to our shopping cart. We're under registration. We're under login. So let's try to click our registration. Okay. Now, notice, by the way, that we have this one, show split console. If you're using JavaScript and you encountered this particular alert, it means that there's an error. So we have here uncaught syntax error, missing formal parameter. So we have it here. Okay. So as you've noticed, we have at the bottom of the screen. So how do we resolve that? Document ready, jQuery. Okay, let's try to erase. Go back here, reload. Okay, so basically that's the JavaScript error. Reload again. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's try to troubleshoot. Okay, let's try to click learn more. Okay, missing formal parameter in Firefox. Okay, let's try to right click here, view page source. Now we have here our jQuery. Okay, so our jQuery is actually successfully added. Try to click error. Try to click this button. Show split screen, console, debugger, network, performance. Try to reload again. Actually, I also want to show you guys how to troubleshoot JavaScript. That's why I am doing this. Okay, so documented ready. Okay, okay, finally found out. Documented ready function. Okay, so I actually forgot this one. So in jQuery, by the way, we always use this one. So this is somewhat of our main function. So you have document.ready function. So jQuery is added. Okay, let's try this time to fire it out. Okay, so we already have here jQuery is added. So okay, this is like okay. Now we will be using, by the way, jQuery to validate our form. If this is simple validation, we will be checking if there's a value on our form, or if the user has successfully entered something on our form. So let's try this time to create a another style sheet. So I'm going to click file, then just try to clear this empty recent list. Okay, then click file, new. Okay, so let's try to call this one as our styles.css. So file, then save as. Okay, I'm going to put it inside our styles. So for save as type, try to look for cascading style sheet. Styles that, let's call this one styles.css. So basically what we wanted for styles.css is that okay, so okay, we already have our styles.css. Now basically what we wanted to do with our styles.css is we're going to create um, where create a style sheet in order for us to color something which is required. So so I to call this one as required. Okay, then color. Okay, just type it red. Okay, since I actually don't know the actual word or the actual hex value. Okay, so go back here, registration. Then, okay, put here um, red. Okay, go back here, say to check. Okay, now, why did it happen? Why it didn't change its color red? Because we haven't uh, added it yet on our header file. Okay, so let's try to add that also on our header file. So I'm going to copy. This is still style sheet. Okay, styles, then styles.css. Okay, then let's go back to our registration.php. So I have to remove color. Okay, this should be color red already. Go back here. Okay, this one should be required. Okay, let's try to check if our, yeah, required. Okay, so we also have here, I changed it to required also, not red, sorry. So we have it here, need to reload. So as you've noticed, it's color red. Okay, so let's try to check this one as required, as well as this one, plus required. Try to put this one. Um, okay, we won't be requiring the user to enter the contact number. Okay, so to go back to our browser and check. Okay, so all of these are actually required, all of these fields. Next thing that we need to do is uh, we will be using ID for our fields. Okay, so there's two class of identifier, by the way. The first one is ID and the other one is class. So class can be repetitive, just like what I'm doing right now, but ID should be unique within the page. So okay, so I to call this one ID, email address. Okay, then this one also ID, password, ID, first name, ID, last name, as well as this one ID, contact number. Okay, let me just try to increase my font size. This is actually how a little bit more, a little bit bigger. Okay, let me just try to write this down again for you guys. So I'm going to first, when you try to initialize jQuery, by the way, going to first write dollar, then document dot ready. Then you have there ready. Then this one. This is parenthesis. Okay, then function, then parenthesis again. Then you're going to use braces. Okay, so that's how you would normally use jQuery. Okay, so let's just try to leave this one as is, or we can actually try to delete this one. Now, take note, by the way, that when we're talking about JavaScript, I mean, it's an event-driven language. So what do you mean to say event? Much like in your C sharp, that we try to get input first from the user, so that everything can be processed. Also, is the same what's going to happen with JavaScript. So like for example, on click, on blur, on change, and so on. So in our case, what we are going to do is we will be also calling this one login. Now there's two methods actually of you using this one. The first one is your ordinary method. We're going to type on click here, then try to create our function. Or since we're dealing with jQuery, what we can do is we can just type ID, then set to call this one button login. Okay, try to pick this one capital letter. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys those two methods. Okay, this is the first one, by the way. So dollar, then we have here hashtag button login. So every time we try to click our button, this line will be fired up or will be executed. Then we have here on, okay, click, comma, function. Okay, this is actually called a callback function. So decide to click alert, button has been clicked. Okay, so to go back to our browser. Now what's going to happen? So every time we try to click this button, this message will be displayed. Okay, so click. Okay, so we have button has been clicked. That's the first method. Now, if we're going to use the traditional method in JavaScript, okay, let's try to remove this one. We can do so by using like on click, then return. Try to call this one as our register. Okay. Then call function register. Okay. Alert. Button click. Okay, so to go back to our page again, reload the page, then click button click. Okay. Now, this is the old way of doing things. This is, by the way, the jQuery way of doing things. So, in our case, I would suggest we try to do this one since we are using jQuery as our main JavaScript library, so that it won't be confusing for us. But there are times also that we will be using this method, especially if we're going to use that function, use a certain function repetitively. So we need to do this one. Otherwise, we will be using this method. Okay, so let's try to go back. Okay, so ID button login. Okay, let's try to check it out. Okay, go back to our form, to our page, reload the page, then let's try to click. Button has been clicked.